So, good day, everyone. Um, we are here to give a discussion about the traditional literature. Our discussants have given different topics about the traditional literature in which we are going to deliver from this video. So, before we proceed and begin our discussion, let's have a prayer by Mr. Jefferson Patayon. Jeff.
Thank you, Sai. So, let us pray in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Lord, thank you so much for this wonderful day. Thank you because we are still able to do the things we want to do. Thank you for always uplifting our spirits when we are very down. Thank you for the overflowing blessings we receive every day. Guide us always to the path of righteousness. And as the class starts, you give us the knowledge and wisdom that we need. Always be at our sides and give us the mettle that we need during the class. Help us, O Lord, be ready in facing the class with faith in everything we do, resiliency, hope for the future that awaits, and enlighten our minds. We hope we will be knowledgeable after this class by applying what we learn and by being the best that we can be. In Jesus' name we pray, Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, Amen.
Okay, so thank you, Jeff. So now we will start with Miss Naila Milog. She will be going to deliver us the traditional literature. Miss Naila.
Okay, thank you, Cyril. So, good afternoon, everyone. I will be the one to report traditional literature and its subtopics. So, next slide, please. Slide.
Wait lang.
Okay, so for today's learning objectives, at the end of the lesson, the students will be able to define the traditional literature, identify the types of traditional literature, and discuss the importance of traditional literature. So, have you read Cinderella, Little Red Riding Hood, and such stories? So we know that these stories have been standing or have been in this world for a long period of time, and these stories are also known or part of traditional literature. So first, what is traditional literature? Okay, so traditional literature is a genre of literature in which stories have been passed down within a culture through generations. So it is a body of ancient stories and poems that out of the tradition of storytelling before being eventually written down. So these stories have been passed down through storytelling from one person to another person. So in this case, no, the content is still the same, but we cannot deny the fact that each each person who story tell their stories have put something in the story, but nevertheless the content is still the same. So it is originate in the oral tradition. So when we say oral tradition, it means that they were passed down from one storyteller to the next for generation before being written down. Therefore, it evolved before being written down, just like what I stated earlier ago. So these stories often tell of a culture's customs, values, and beliefs. They were used to teach children important lessons in life and prepare them for society. So these stories now it help us to have a glimpse of other people's cultures, beliefs, and values, which later on we carried until we've grown. So lastly, traditional literature is identified by its use of universal themes. So when we say universal themes, these are the ideas or situations that the vast majority of people can relate to, despite not having lived through the same specific events as the narrative. So universal themes are these are something that each one of us can relate to, just like when hard work, foolishness, honesty, and etc. These are known to the human experience, no? Then next slide, please. So, of course, there are several types of traditional literature, and number one would be a myth. So, a myth is a traditional story that may answer life's overarching questions such as the origins of the world, the creation myth, or of a people. A myth can also be an attempt to explain mysteries, supernatural events, and cultural traditions. So, of course, a myth is stories that are based on tradition. These are the fiction stories based on historical beliefs of ancient people. So, some may say that they have factual origins, while others are completely fictional. So, at the most basic concept, we can think of a myth as a story that explains how the world come to be the way it is. So example of these a Daedalus and Icarus, Pandora's box, Orpheus and Eurydice, and Sisyphus. So in the Philippines, no, we have also myth, and one of these are the Diwata and Tivoli and Melo and Delaan. So next slide, please. So these are the examples that I have stated earlier. Next na slide. So folktale. Folktale is a story passed down orally from generation to generation. So the word folk and folktale comes from the German word folk, which means people. So in short, these are stories intended for people. So originally told and typically by word of mouth. So most of these stories belong to folk tales are hundreds of years with no origin unknown. So example of these are the Little Red Riding Hood, the Three Little Pigs, Jack and the Beanstalk, Goldilocks and the Three Bears. So next slide. These are the examples. They're book covers to be exact. So next. Okay, next. Of course, legend. Legend it is the type of traditional literature which is based on real people and events or those thought that have been real. So these stories are exaggerated to depict heroism or to give explanation to something that necessarily explainable. So the word legend is originated from a Latin legendus, which means something which ought to be read. So traditionally, a legend is a narrative that focuses on an historically or geographically specific figure and describes this exploit. So example of these are the legend of Atlantis, the Abadeja or the Philippine Cinderella. So next slide. Oh, okay. Before that, let me tell you the difference between myth and legend since it's a little bit of confusing with its definition. So when we say legends, these are made up of stories. While legends are made up of stories, myths are stories that answers questions about the working of natural phenomena. Myths are set in older times, even in prehistoric times. So, however, legends are stories about people and their actions or deeds that they perform to save other people or nations. So, in short, the legends are typically highlights a story about a person's or a man's actions and their doings, while the myth answers phenomenon or how the world came to how it is today. So next, of course. So fairy tales. A fairy tale is a story intended for children that features fanciful and wondrous characters such as elves, goblins, wizards, and but not necessarily fairies. So a fairy tale is a genre of magical story, usually originating in folklore. So these stories have mostly have in beginning once upon a time. Example of these, of course, Cinderella, Beauty and the Beast, Snow White, Little Mermaid. So these stories are short, which intended for children. So next. So these are the examples and their book cover, of course. So fables are stories about nature in which the natural elements such as trees, plants, animals, and wind, or etc., are made into characters or are personified with human characteristics. So these in these stories we can read or we can see that the the trees, the plants, animals are talking, not just like it's really a fable. And then that they possess human characteristics such as walking, talking, dancing, and etc. So fables are stories intended to teach a lesson. So fables feature animals, plants, legendary creatures, inanimate objects, or forces of nature that gives human qualities, just like I stated earlier. So next. Of course, examples of these are the Goldilocks and the Three Bears, the Boy Who Cried Wolf, the Lion and the Mouse. Next. So Aesop's fables, and when we say fables, Aesop's has been very well known in terms of fables. Aesop, as I researched, Aesop was an ancient Greek storyteller who lived around 550 BCE. He was a slave who lived in ancient Rome in the home of a wealthy Roman family. So legend says that Aesop's Roman master was so delighted with Aesop's fables that he guaranteed Aesop his freedom. So Aesop's fables or Aesopica refers to a collection of fables credited to Aesop. So he wrote approximately 600 fables, and these fables he have written have a strong moral message at the core. So in each fables he wrote, it leaves a moral lesson to each one of us. So next. So example of these is the boy who cried wolf, the tortoise and the hare, the lion and the mouse, the north wind and the sun, the ant and the grasshopper. So next. So why do we have to learn about traditional literature? First, it serves as the building blocks for contemporary literature or framework for literature. So it serves as a building block, which means that it serves as a basis for many pieces of modern literatures. So we can perfectly see no, that there are pieces that have been written with another version of this, another version of this, and it was it was it was it was dito nagsimula sa contemporary that idea from the ancient literature or the ancient says. So next one, it provides a window on diverse cultures. Just like what I stated earlier, when we read these books, we will have a glimpse of their beliefs or how their culture is and etc. And for the last one, it provides moral models for children as the struggle between good and evil is applied to events in their own lives. So next. Hans Christian Andersen is a Danish author and poet. He was born on April 2, 1805 in Odense, Denmark. So he wrote more than 160 fairy tales. It was stated that many of the Andersen's fairy tales depict characters who gain happiness in life after suffering and conflicts. So at an early age, he believed that he was going to be famous and that sparked about him. So stated also that his fairy tales are closely linked with his life experiences. So next one. So here are some or the several awards that Anderson got. So the first one is the King of the Denmark awarded his monetary grant in 1830 for his travels. In 1846, of course, he received the knighthood of the Red Eagle from King Friedrich Wilhelm IV of Prussia. So in 1859, he received Maximilian Order of Art and Science King Maximilian II of Bavaria. And the last one, he had the Hans Christian Andersen Award is given out by IBDY every other year to living author and illustrator. It is the high Baliktay. Given to an author and illustrator. So it is given for those who complete works have made a lasting contribution to children's literature. So it is also stated that it is the highest international award given to an author and an illustrator. So next. So these are just the several works of Anderson's that have been well known to the world. So the first is The Princess and the Thief, The Little Tiny or Thumbelina, The Emperor's New Clothes, The Little Mermaid, and The Nightingale. And that would be all. Thank you.
Alright, thank you, Miss Naila, for your delivery discussion. So, I am going now to discuss the Grimm brother fairy tales. So now let's start. So Jacob Ludwig Karl Grimm, he was born on January 4, 1785 and died on September 20, 1863. While Wilhelm Karl Grimm, he was born on February 24, 1785 and died on December 16, 1859. So Grimm brothers, they are born both at the Hanau Hesse Castle and died at Berlin. But Jacob Ludwig Karl Grimm was beyond 2 months after his brother Wilhelm died. So uh, both brothers are German folklorists and linguists, and they are best for known for their Kinder and the Hausmärchen, or the in English term, the children's and household tales, as a German collection of fairy tales, and it was first published on December 20, 1812, or what we are called the Grimm's fairy tales. So together, they compiled other collection of folk music and folk literature. And Jacob in particular did an important work in historical linguistics and Germanic philology. So it included the formulation of Grimm's law, and they were among the most important German scholars of their time. So these brothers' book contains 209 tales in overall of their collection, and the tales are about for children and families and how they reacted to the difficult conditions under which they live. So talking about fairy tales, what can we do? What can we get about reading fairy tales, or what lesson could teach us after we read fairy tales? So based on the Jungian interpretation, fairy tales teach children how to deal with basic human conflicts, the desires and relationships in a healthy way. And acquiring these skills can ultimately impact a child's health, quality of life, or even influence its values and beliefs in the future. So, the Grimm thought that stories and their morals emanated naturally from the German people in an oral tradition, and they wanted to preserve them before the tales were lost forever. So, I have this following fairy tales which published by the Grimm brothers, and these tales are famous because of the story is popular for many children. So first is the Rumpelstiltskin. So have you ever heard about the story of Rumpelstiltskin? So if don't, I will going to deliver here the summary of the story for us to be familiar what was happened about this story. So the story is all about to a miller who grinds a grain for a flour, who tries too hard to seem important when he gets his chance to talk to the king. So the miller brags that his daughter is so talented that she can spin out of straw. So the miller daw is siya ay nagsinungaling sa hari na ang kanyang anak na babae ay napaka-talented, and kaya daw sa kanyang anak na gumawa ng isang gold gamit lang ang pag-spin out of straw. So, to prove the miller bring his daughter to the king, so he provide an evidence of his daughter's ability in which all was lie. Then the king locked the miller's daughter inside a room that was full of grain to make it all out of gold. And once the miller's daughter gold passed, the king would marry the miller's daughter. So after that, the daughter was forced to do tasks out of her capability and was driven by fear because she will die as she was failed to do so. So on the night, a dwarf guy named Rumpelstiltskin, so mani siya ang guy na gingan lang Rumpelstiltskin. So he exists on a dim room and offered the daughter 3 wishes, but with an exchange after he grant all those wishes. So the daughter wished to make those all grains out of gold before dawn, and Rumpelstiltskin grant it. In that morning, the king was amazed with the shining gold and make another task for the daughter, and so on. After she complete all this, the king marked his words that he should marry the miller's daughter, and abruptly she became a queen and was blessed with one son together with the king. So after a year, the queen was being forgetful about her promise to Rumpelstiltskin, so that she should have an exchange out of those wishes. In that moment, the dwarf guy or Rumpelstiltskin exists in just a blink in front of the king to fulfill its promise, but the queen failed to grant it. In that moment, the dwarf gave another test to the queen, and that is to make a guess about his name. If she fails to do it, then the dwarf will take his son and she will never find it anymore. So the queen asked the soldiers to make a list to all the names inside their kingdom to trick the dwarf, but all it was true. In a time guessing, she was stated the name of the dwarf, which is Rumpelstiltskin, and the moment was changed and the dwarf was disappeared. So the moral of the story is that we should tell the truth and take responsibility for our own mistakes. So as the miller's daughter nearly loses everything because her father is untruthful and refuses to pay the price for his mistakes. So another is the wolf and the 7 little kids. So the story is all about a wolf tricks 7 kids into letting it into their house. So the wolf eats all the kids except one. So the mother goat returns to find only one kid alive. The mother goat seeks out the wolf who is sleeping his meal off. She sees movement in the wolf's belly and cuts the belly open. So all the 6 kids jump out alive and well. The mother goat then instructs the kids to find rocks which she saws up in the wolf's belly. The wolf wakes up thirsty when he tries to get something to drink. The weight of the rocks pulls him into the well where he drowns. So the moral of it is if you will be bad to others, bad thing will happen also to you. And another is the Brothers Grimm, Faithful John. So the story tells us that stories can change over time even if the words don't change. So stories can develop new morals and new life depending on who tells them and what time period they are told in. So the story means that sometimes even jerks whom you would think would have nothing because they are jerks still sometimes get ahead when you are trying your hardest as a non-jerk to get ahead in the world and you still have nothing. It rains on the just and the unjust. So the last one is good bargain. So this story tells that life isn't easy and we do have to make sacrifices, but usually our sacrifices aren't so extreme. So there is a saying that explains joy. So you have to know sorrow. We cannot recognize happiness in our lives without experiencing sadness. So you cannot recognize plenty in your life without recognizing death. So let's proceed to another one, the 1001 Nights. So 1001 Nights is a collection of Middle Eastern folk tales compiled in Arabic during the Islamic Golden Age. So in Arabic term, the 1001 Nights is Alf Laila wa Laila. And in English, it is the Arabian Nights or the 1001 Nights. And which it rendered the title as the Arabian Nights Entertainment. And moreover, it contains 200 stories. So one of the most important moral Arabian Nights is that fidelity. Then the 1001 Nights originated as oral tales. So the stories in 1001 Nights have traveled the world repeatedly over the centuries. But this region is where they originated first. So told by storytellers in the 600s to 900s CE in Iran, Saudi Arabia, and um, India. So talking about 1001 Nights, familiar man ni siya sa ato as so like what 1000 Nights is it tells about Alibaba and Sinbad. So their sailors have almost become part of Western folklore. So do this, they were added to the collection only in the 18th century in European edition. So what was the purpose of the Thousands and One Nights? So the purpose of it is to add to share culture of the world and providing the people in the Middle East, Europe, and other places with a common set of stories and symbols. So I have here the examples about the famous stories of 1001 Arabian Nights. So we have here Aladdin and the Shahryar and Scheherazade. And next, the Alibaba and the 40 Thieves. And next one is the Seven Voyages of Sinbad the Sailor. So that's all, and thank you for the discussion of the 1001 Nights. Jeff.
Thank you. So we are now with the other famous fairy tales. Okay, so I will be discussing this topic up until to the Filipino legends. Next slide, sorry. Okay, so we do have this Cinderella. Cinderella is one of the most popular fairy tales of all time. Its story remains an all-time classic and will remain the same for future as well. Cinderella was a young woman who lived with her wicked stepmother and stepsisters. Thanks to her glass sleeper, she found her prince charming and escaped a difficult life. Cinderella's story has been adapted in many variations over history. Cinderella's popular version, The Brother Grimm, was published in 1812. Recently, in 2021, Disney has released a new Cinderella movie with a modern outlook. So, um, I myself, I am admitted that I am fond of reading famous fairy tales, especially Cinderella, Snow White, The Little Mermaid, Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast, Sleeping Beauty. So, favorites na ko na sila. And here the story Cinderella, going back to Cinderella, the story here is all about the main character, of course, the protagonist is Cinderella. So she was downtrodden or she was oppressed by her wicked grandmother and stepsisters. At yung kina-oppressed siya and grabe siya pag-confront niya in this na-expect niya dapat para sa iya ha, inaangkong sa luha niya as stepsisters. Her two stepsisters are so wicked and they always maltreat Cinderella. Iyang mother po, tira ang batasan sa iyahang mga anak. So the moral here is that this story tells kids how they should never stop dreaming despite all the hardships that life presents them with. So why? Because and the end manggod, na at yung sisters, step-sisters is nag-ilog ato hang lalaki nga iboga nila. Pero, ang gusto sa lalaki nga makadayag is katong, kung kinsa makasukod sa sapatos is mauyahang mapangasawa, mo na iyahang makabiyak sa iyang for the rest of his life. And ang atong step-sisters niya is mo man nag-match sa sapatos, so dili sila ang mapangasawa ato ang atong lalaki katong prince. And because na si Cinderella, gitry to niya, even if puno pa rin sapatos, her stepsisters and her kanang wicked stepmother is kanang against to isukod niya because grabe sila makamaliit kay Cinderella. They always underestimated Cinderella's capacity and everything in her. Pero but when Cinderella tried to wear the shoes, it matches ihang tiil. Ang size tama dyan kayo. And that is the reason why her stepmother and her two stepsisters are left dumbfounded. Tugod kay di bagay ka Cinderella sapatos and that is the reason nga nung siya ang nabili nga kanang makabiyak sa lalaki for the rest of his life. And that is why we should not underestimate other people. Dili pasabot nga, di na to sila ka-level, anaon na to sila. Para sa story sa Cinderella is, nag-succeed siya, kanang after being, or from being oppressed by her stepmother and stepsisters, nihawas siya ang sitwasyon. Kaya nga ni dato man siya kay napakasawa pa niya lalaki and she escaped from that um, gloom reality. Next slide, sorry. And this is a fairy tale that celebrates real royalty. In the story, a spoiled prince turns into a beast and becomes a beautiful young lady named Belle. It's only when he learns to love Belle that he becomes the beast again. This fairy tale is assumed to be inspired by a real-life couple who lived in France in the 1500s. The man had a condition called hypertrichosis. This condition causes abnormal hair growth on the body. So, he was served as a wild man and was kept in a cage for a long time. In a surprising turn of events, he married a royal court servant's daughter and they had 7 children. So the moral in the story is that we should value internal characteristics such as kindness over other superficial or physical qualities. So in the story of the Beauty and the Beast, Kanisi Prince is na-cursed siya. The prince cursed to spend his days as a hideous monster sets out to regain humanity by earning a young woman's love. So, having lived a life in selfishness, young Prince Adam is cursed by a mysterious enchantress to having the appearance of a monstrous beast. His only hope is to learn to love a young woman and earn her love in return in order to redeem himself. 10 years later, his chance shows itself when a young lady named Belle offers to take her ill father, Maurice, with a prisoner. With her help from the castle's ship stuff, Belle learns to appreciate her captor and immediately falls in love with him. However, Scrabble Hunter Gus has his own plans for Belle. So, sa ano is the curse niya about his selfishness. Rich siya, the prince is so arrogant, and he lived his life in selfishness. And mo nang maso niya no, gisumpa siya at he is so hideous, pangit kay siya, and monstrous as well. Kaya naman, kay pangit sila. But then Belle appreciated him. Belle falls in love with him, and that is the reason man naulian siya. He returned to his normal appearance, katong prince na dyan siya. And that is the lesson learned that we can get here, that we should value internal qualities such as kindness over other superficial or physical qualities. Next slide, guys. Rapunzel. So Rapunzel is a beautiful and motivational fairy tale. The story shows how a poor couple lost their daughter Rapunzel when they stole fruit from the neighbor's garden. It also focuses on how the angelic voice of Rapunzel reunites her with her lover. So the moral here is that the story gives two bold messages that one should never steal and evilness never wins. So di ang ano na wala si Rapunzel, gikawat siya tungod kay iyahang parents ng is awat o prutas ilang silingan. And if I were to relate this one sa katumaan real skills na kanatanawan sa TV, ang story ato ni is nag-evolve siya tungod kay yung ginikana ng awat biglit suga sa silingan. And then kating nakawatan ni is rich da ito siya. Mot ang kabayaran is ikawat iya anak after niya pagpanganak kanang Maon siya atong witch tungod kay buntis man niyang mama that time and ang gipangala sa iyang mama is katong litsugas. So anang to which ang kabayaran as the compensation katong sa pagpangawat o walay permission nga sige siya panghugot to atong litsugas. Ang kabayaran is yung anak pagpanganak. So pagpanganak sa mama is ikawat iyang anak. But then nabalik man pud ang iyang anak sa iyang mama and papa in a right time. Nabalik siya tungod kay with the help of the prince, of course. So, ang prince ang nagtabang sa ilaha kay Belle, ay sa kay Rapunzel, nga mabalik siya dito. And because Rapunzel was, very, gitulong siya tama sa iyahang kapong nagkawat sa iyahang kung the only nga iyahang anak si Rapunzel, pero dili na niya siya anak. Kanang katong nitaas sa ambok ni Rapunzel is kanang gusto man siya mong takas at siya lalaki na gusto mong takas dito at ang book gamit niya that giputol sa iyang katong nagawat sa iyang atong witch ang iyang putok para di na kanya gamit. But then na at hibalay na kalugar niya banto nga ang treatment niya is because dili man niya tumama. And with that, the prince find a way nga para makuha niya si Rapunzel para matakas niya dito as an in situation. And the story gives us two bold messages that one should never steal and evilness never wins. So dito pag nangawat itong parents, for me, I believe that binigyan po rason nga ang tao, ang kabayaran, because I believe that a child is a mother's treasure and a father's treasure. Bisan pag whatever happens, feeding your child, it effaces your boredom. It effaces your loneliness. It changes your world. That's life side. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Snow White is a young that is defined by her inherent kindness and pure beauty. In the story, an evil queen spends all her life envying Snow White's beauty. But in the end, Snow White finds her happiness by marrying the prince. In contrast, the evil queen loses her peace and lives an unhappy life while chasing meaningless physical beauty. So in this story of Snow White, I also love this story. I really love the story of Snow White because Snow is siya ang pinakagwapa. So I would like to exaggerate the word beautiful. So I would like to give that adjective of Paul. So Paul, in other words, is beautiful. So they are the same, they are synonym. But I would like to use the word Paul because that describes Snow White as in guwapa ka siya sa story. And the queen is always envying Snow White's beauty. Kaya lagi guwapa siya. And whenever the queen is looking at the mirror, sa kapagpatanan ako sa TV, I just want to reminisce what I have watched sa TV nga kanang kumutanaw ang queen sa amin. She always asks the mirror nga isa daw ang pinakagwapa sa kuan lang daw sa ilaha. The mirror replied quickly nga si Snow White kay pangalawa ka lang hal na Reyna. And every time mo tumag katong sa amin nga pang kanuhara jud ang Reyna, mas ko ang Reyna. So kadugayan dahil balik na po sa amin o the other day, next day, and next hangtod, and balik siya sa akin, then pangutan niya ka ng who is the most beautiful woman lang daw. Then ang tubag niya sa amin say walay change kasi Snow White yung hapon ang pinakagwapa sa kagra si katong queen. And because naglagot ang si queen, ihatong giguba ang sa amin. And there's this kanang witch na sugo, lady, sugo atong queen nga makaunon si Snow White ng apple. Then ang apple is poisonous, na siya poison nga. If mukaon si Snow White is mamatay siya, nalason siya, tungod poison siya na siya lason. And kana siyang apple is intended for Snow White, so di ko tumahato na sa ilaha na nakaon ni Snow White to then pagkahuman, namatay dyan siya katungod na kay kanang na-apple pa, I curse ang apple nga intended na siya para Snow White. Planado to nga dapat Snow White na yung apple siya dapat mamatay siya katara ang mapinakagapa na is katumpay na. And the seven dwarfs have heard. So, that na, I think na the story is kanang nakamatas si Snow White tungod kay na there's a prince who loved her unconditionally, who loved her completely, and who made her feel that she is loved, welcome, and nakamata siya tungod ako. I think it's isa lang natin sa diri. I forgot the whole story, but I just recall what I have remembered sa akong photo nga akong patanawan sa dati. So the moral of the story is that the story has an insightful moral. If you love all physical beauty, it is in the way. The story also encourages kids to be kind and pure like Snow White. So because di man ko pasabot nga natay mas ko sa tuwa or mas gwapa, mas gwapo, we will be envious magstelo sa patungod kay nalamangan pa. So we should accept ourselves. We should flaunt our beauty and we should love the way we are because I do believe that a person who is compare who likes to compare his life with other people, especially beauty, will never be happy. And that is why we should celebrate our beauty because everybody can be us, but they will never be us. So let's celebrate our beauty and love it completely. So next slide, Sai. Little Red Riding Hood. Okay, so a rebellious red sets off alone to meet her grandmother with instructions to never stop the forest path. But she disobeys the instructions and attracts the attention of the bad wolf. Now, what happens next depends on the version you are reading. In the Charles Perrault version, Red gets gobbled up by the wolf. However, across Europe, North America, and many other tellings, she was saved by her hood for a guard with an axe. So the essence story is the Little Red Riding Hood is so ano siya anang dalitan ko siya tuod and katong ang wolf di eye is kanang na siya bad intention para kay kaning Little Red Riding Hood, and with that kanang na notice sa beginning nga na ay bad intention ang wolf. So also nakapagita sila way on how to say that. So the moral of the story is that the fairy tale intended to follow directions and courage at that time of need. Okay, next slide na tayo. Jack and the Beanstalk. So Jack is a rule breaker and loves to brag. Once, he traded a family cow for a couple of magic beads in the hope of climbing a beanstalk and reaching the giant's castle to steal his magic possessions. This story will help you teach your naughty little gangster where you are. One should never cross certain boundaries in life. The moral of the story is that the story shows that undying greed for more will take away what you already have in your life. Pinasibag ang oras. The Sleeping Beauties. I also love this fairy tale. Sleeping Beauty is slightly similar to Snow White. The story revolves around a Sleeping Beauty who was cursed by a wicked fairy. Beauty spends all her childhood sleeping, but on her 16th birthday, her Prince Charming finds her and wakes her up after years of slumber. Like other fairy tales, different interpretations of Sleeping Beauty are also available. However, Disney's Maleficent in the movie 2014 achieved the most success. So the moral here is that the story shows that growing up has its own hurdles, but in the end, love conquers all. So the story of Sleeping Beauty is katang I just want to recall ako natanawan aniha. And when I was in grade 11, kung naman tong ang among ko is Sleeping Beauty to ang i-portray sa klase. And I can remember nga ang story ani is si Sleeping Beauty katong gipanganak siya, nagsabot gato magudi siya kay because she was a child. She was a daughter of the king and the queen. So ang king and queen nagpatawag sila o ka ng what is this party? Yata that after ana it was a happy party kay nag-announce sila nga ang bunyag ang kasi is to be happened on that day. I forgot the exact date. Ano na, nakita ko siya ana. And all the fairies are invited except one. So kamong isa ka fairies, she wonders nganong ang ubang fairies invited niya. Of course, she is uninvited guy. Rated man siya ang fairy. So, uninvited siya tungod kay dili siya kasaligan compared sa other fairies. So, mauna to ka to, time na sa pagpanganak siya, dahil siya atong ibunyagan is grabe nag-gifts ang mga other fairies sa iya, ha? Ginatagan siya o mga magics, like mga kung sa ano pa, sa ikantan gani mga pananggala nga, dapat something like that, o para sa baby's sake. And on that day, niabot ang weekend fairy. So, kanang gisiki siya, what you call this, she chuckles a little, nag-chuckle siya, nag-gisiki hangtod din tutuwi ang katawa. Ano siya nga, I am uninvited. So, uninvited siya din, bisa pag uninvited siya, dugol siya din, yung wish, na siya wish, bisa uninvited siya, atong ang fairy, yung wish is, ang katong bata is makatulog siya, ay on her 60th birthday is, katong wish sa iyaha sa wicked fairy is mo effect sa iyaha. When that becomes, nakulbaan niya, naman man niya makita mga fairies na attend o yung, of course, the king queen yung ginikanan, nakulbaan because but not materialize and it happened due to itong birthday niya. So, nagbuhat og the other fairies did everything they could just to, expel the curse. But then, wala dyan natablan yung curse. On her 6th birthday, nangitabo ng ginhalukan. So, natusok si um, Sleeping Beauty sa katong, anong tawag ha? Needle yata to. And then, after nagkatusok sa needle is, ni-effect kayo ang curse sa iya ha. Gitinta man siya tong wicked fairy. And after the effect is, nakuyakan siya. Then, it's like nga, it's the end of the world eh. Ang katong palasyo is na puno na sa mga ano, gitubo-tubuan na siya something. And ang only way para makamata si Cinderella is, I mean, Sleeping Beauty, I'm sorry na abot ako Cinderella. Sleeping Beauty is, so he's a prince. So ang prince ang nag-sleep sa iya when the prince kissed him, nakamata Cinderella. So ang kiss na prince, nauto ang kanang susi para makamata Cinderella. And there's the moral here that the story shows that growing up has its own hurdles, but in the end, love conquers all. Because love is powerful and love will always conquer all. Thank you. So next slide. Usually naman ito si Bella na sa Hey Hansel and Gretel. This tale talks about the hunger of the heart and stomach. Hansel and Gretel are abandoned by their stepmother in the forest. Both children can receive eating a real gingerbread cottage out of hunger, but they get caught by a cannibal witch who leaves at the end. They show the witch into the fairy oven to escape. Moral is the story will teach your kids how fortunate they are to have a good food on their table. It will help them be grateful in life, and the story will teach your kids how fortunate they are to have food on their tables. It will help them to be grateful in life and never have any egos. Okay? So, muna ang story sa Hansel and Gretel. Okay, to further illustrate that one, allow me. And next slide naman the isa. The Frog Prince. In this story, a frog helps a princess to find her golden ball in the pond and then invites her to live in the castle. It is then that the frog turns into a prince. The storyline of the frog prince is quite similar to Beauty and the Beast. So the moral is that the story teaches that it's important to value kindness and goodness over physical beauty. It also tries to keep the importance of keeping our promises. So, di ba, in the last sentence sa first paragraph, the storyline of the frog prince is quite similar to Beauty and the Beast. Yes, it's quite similar because in the ganina, as I have mentioned, and in Beauty and the Beast is gisumpa katong prince to actually ang Beast, gisumpa siya because of his arrogance, his life in selfishness. So, same siya din sa frog prince, kanang si Princess Prince is naapod siya mga lapses. So, young princess is playing with a golden ball by a wooden lag spring one day, throwing the ball in the air and catching it. So, katong that time is kaning sa plan sa marinig ha, I would like to marian na the frog prince. Katong mo na siyang paki. So, ang makapabay sa iya into his normal appearance is katong young princess. So at this point, a frog had a pot of water, and the animal asked her what she's after. So she tells him that she's lost her prized ball in the water. The frog says he will get back for her. He should upset to let him up and leave her with her, and eat from her plate, and sleep on her pillow at night. So desperate is the princess to recover her ball that she gives to the frog's request. So mao to, grabe kay request kaning ang frog sa katong iyang or young princess na dapat mukaon siya sa iyang plato sa taki. So, kanang mutulog siya sa iyang ulan with him, and etc. Dapat siya request. So, the frog disappears under the water and emerges a few moments after the princess golden ball in his mouth. As soon as she's taken her ball back at the frog, runs off home, forgetting to honor her end to the bargain. So, moto, taas pa kayo siyang story to you, so I will not discuss it to you anymore. But then, basta ang sa story is all about nga, ang katong young lady, or a young princess, siya sa prince, kuan, nabalik siya ang anyo. And the moral here is that the story teaches that it's important to value kindness and goodness over physical beauty. It also tries to convey the importance of keeping our promises. So as we see in the picture, di ba, the princess is It's like that she is grumpy, mga masumitin dyan ka ng grabe ko yan, now sa tradition or princess family is not supposed it's like that she is not in the mood. And Frog Prince is doing everything he can just to amuse the princess, just to entertain the princess. And the princess is left flabbergasted. She was left in awe, knowing atong siya ang reason nga ibalik sa dati nga pagka-prinsipe ang frog because it's not a frog man show, it's a prince. Prinsipe man siya nga na-curse ang siya tungkol sa iya mga misbis. So next up, the benefits of reading fairy tales, particularly the ones. Early development. So early development, diba? We discussed this from our previous discussions katong sa mga previous three quarters that especially to Ma'am Renette na kanang it helped us in our early development because she said, Mom said it that we will read books, especially fairy tales, we can feel like we are being taken in the different places and it helps our early development kana atong especially our cognitive development because when we read develop atong cognitive development which kanang dako siyang impact sa ato ang life especially in our thinking. Next is develops problem solving skills. Yes, it also helps us to develop our problem solving skills because when we read fairy tales naka mga lessons diba and it helps us develop our problem solving skills because like in the fairy tales na may mga problem solved that I raised. Like, allow me to start an example. Like, earlier, I discussed the frog prince. So, di ba sa frog prince is, na ay mga frog, ang problem nga gitpil sa frog is katong nahimo siyang frog. The I way, the problem solved when the princess helped him. Moto na balik siya sa iyahang dating anyo. So, there is a problem solving skills na ma-develop sa ito because when we read it, ma-apply na to ang atong tunan sa stories, katong mga problem-solving skills katunan na even if there is a problem, there is a corresponding solution to that one. So, ma-apply na to sa atong kinabuhi, katong real life kanang scenario, ma-apply na to na siya, and we can be better individuals. Next is builds faith in goodness. So, di ba, pag ganina nga, even if parang sa Cinderella, isang pag kanang yahang stepmother, yahang stepsisters are wicked and they maltreat Cinderella, di ba? Cinderella shows nothing but kindness towards her stepmother, towards her stepsisters. So, reading fairy tales builds or helps us to build faith in goodness. Even if we felt despondent, we should build faith in goodness. Even if we are downtrodden, we should build faith in goodness because if we are good, na ay mga maayo po yung maabot sa atua. Next, this helps to understand cultural literacy. Okay, so ano cultural literacy, mga cultures of others, of course, na atua value, appreciate, and praise. Strengthens emotional resiliency, stimulates imagination. So, man to kaganina na mention ako nga, if we read, we can feel like we are being taken into other places. So, na-stimulate atong imagination. Teaches more lessons or teaches lessons instead. So, mo na to, when we read fairy tales, it teaches us lessons nga ato ang ma-embrace, nga ato ang ma-treasure, ato ang ma-love, and ato siyang ma-remember in our life. So, this lesson can be applied to atong real life situation. If natay mga experiences nga intelligent, we can apply sa mga moral lessons na ato ang tunan atong ma-acquire from reading fairy tales. Next is help parents bond with their kids. So, yes, it's true how parents bond with their kids. For example, allow me to cite scenario. Okay, so a parent or the parents nang nasa books then ilahang gibasa sa ilang children. So, di ba sa bedtime stories na? So, basahon ko ilang storytelling, ba? Para raise this parents, tarong ilang children. Palit yung kabahan nila, and after it's a story, and after the story, it's makatulong ng children because of listening, and of course, malinaw sila, and dahil sila makuha ang lessons sa atong ginadiscuss sa ilang parents. And that also pertains to this one, it helps parents bond with their kids. So, kung mag-read ang parents sa ilang bata o mga stories na sila i-discuss, especially in bedtime stories, it helps them bond with their kids. Next is teach, motivate, and stimulate imagination with games. Okay, na similarities ato mga previous na na-mention ako. Okay, that's all for the next slide, guys. Okay. So, one, the children have intelligence, read fairy tales. If you want them to be more intelligent, read tales. So that is according to Albert Einstein. Next slide. The stories for the kakawin are not tawag yung mga muling. They tell of folk tales. So we do have the monkey. The monkey and turtle is a perfect example of folk tale short story written by two national heroes of Rizal. The story focuses on the monkey and turtle who started as friends. The story focuses on the monkey and turtle who started as friends. They both saw a floating banana plant on the water. They thought of trees they could plant. The monkey chose the upper part of the plant for he thought it was better. Meanwhile, the turtle got the bottom part with the roots, so he grew an abundant plant. Since the turtle couldn't climb the tree to get the fruit, he asked the monkey to get it for him. Instead, the monkey betrayed the turtle and ate everything. The turtle had revenge to him, which ended to the monkey's death. The friends of the monkey also planned revenge, but they did not win over the turtle. Okay. So now, when I was in grade 4, the discussed siya sa Mua is one of the famous Philippine folk tales, and I will never forget this one because it is already inculcated in my mind, especially the lesson that it has taught me, the lesson that it has bequeathed in me. So kung mga story sa The Monkey and the Turtle is mag-amigo ang unggoy ug ang kaning pagong. So, ato na ito saging ambak na ako sa topic kakamo mo ta mo dito kanil ang sequence sa iyang story. So kaning si ang katong saging dapat is ang tagian is kanong si Turtle ang pagong. Then, di pa mo siya kakat because, di ba, as everyone knows, ang turtle is, luya ka siya, lousy. It's like that lazy eater ang makuparas tao, tapos yung tatlo because they are lousy, the way they act, the way they do, they kaayo as in luya, sa luya. So, kayo mo siya makakat because the turtle was not able to climb the tree. Yan, gusto ko ang unggoy, at katat sa liyaa. And siguro ko in the story nga, it's like mapito sa kanamang nga, siguro hatagan ko ni turtle o kana saging it. Kato na ko siya, na karena it's like mabahin sila ba nga matag na po sila ko yeah po kasi ang sugo then habot para ka turtle pero in this story si monkey is very ano siya treacherous ka siya treacherous and he is kanang puso dodger puso ka siya tungod kay i-defraud niya si turtle bisa pag isugo na siya after niya nakat-kat is gigagaraan pa niya si monkey wala siya ginaog gibulot niya og kaon ng saging sa taas and I do believe sa say nga, kahit sa Tagalog say nga, kahit matalino ang mating, nalalamangan pa rin. So, na tumutuko na nga kay diya sa survive si Maxi, nakapangita og way ang turtle na mabalas pa niya ang mating because the turtle here was completely enraged na tukod siya taman tukod sa gibuhat because of what the monkey did to him or her. I don't know if lalaki ba or by ang turtle mo him or her ang gamit. So, the turtle finds a way na balasan to niya si Maxing and that equals all story ha. So, wala ko siya gi-coadjure ang sequence. But to this end, I would like to give an idea or an insightful lesson to all of you, my dear classmates, na even if na ay daotang gibuhat pa to ang tao, especially here, ang monkey o ang turtle, between the two, we should never revenge. Because if we are vindictive, then atong heart mapuno og anger, atong heart mapuno og odium, atong heart mapuno og grudges. And if we are full of grudges, if our hearts are full of grudges, then we will never be happy. We will never live a happy life. Thus, we should learn to forgive and forget the things, especially those abominable experiences of those abominable happenings in our lives and focus on what truly matters. And most importantly, move forward because every day is a new day. That's all. Next slide. Ako mga own idea nga ipa-share. Okay, why the fish hatches. The girl who turned into a fish and a classical in water tales as narrated by Maria Elena Paterno. This Filipino folktale talks about a girl who grew up being rained and spoiled. She was admiring her beauty by the river when the chief of crabs adored her beauty and spoke her. She was shocked and showed away the crab. In return, the chief scratched her face and cursed her to become a fish with many scales. So, ang summary naman na siya, so I don't think if I need to expound it more, it is already naman presented sa PPT. So, next slide na lang slide. The story of Pina. Why the Pina has 100 eyes, as narrated by many Santa Romana Cruz, depicts the folktale about Pina, an adorable yet lazy girl. The time came when her mother asked her to cook, which she ignored at first. When she finally agreed to do it, she joined the layout. Her frustrated mother hoped that Pina could grow 100 eyes for being lazy, and so that she could find everything. Later on, Pina disappeared, and then a yellow fruit with 100 eyes grew in their backyard. So i-discuss na lang ako siya because I have ideas about this one back when I was in elementary. Na-discuss na siya sa mua. So here the story, ang character, ang main character is si Pinang. Kaya si Pinang, she is so lazy, she is sluggish. Although gwapa man siya, adorable, pero tapulan kayo siya, so beauty doesn't matter much about when it comes to work, when it comes to making actions in life. So tapulan ka ni si Tina sa story. Kung tubuon si mama nga, asa daw ang lay down, ang luwag. Ano siya nga, she couldn't find it, she couldn't see it. Kaya kung nang ginapalo sa Tina, nawa siya makita, sa naaran, good, gabi ka siya mayaw. Every time siya, tagalog ka, muhaan something like that, something like this, get that. Siguro siya nga, she couldn't find it. Hindi niya makita daw. And because her mother, na puno niya mama ba, pakot nga, unta daw si Kuan, si Pinang, pero mata, managkan lagi ang mata kay sobrang sa katakulan. And also, ang story niya is that si Pinang, she disappeared. Nahimo siyang pinya. And of course, because she disappeared sa ilahang balay, her mother wondered where she is. Moto nga, nakita si mama sa gawas nga naitubo fruit daghang kay siyang mata, and without knowing nga mama wa kabalo mo asang anak hangtod katong itubo nga fruit sa ilang gawas na isipina nga man ito. So Pina was chastised, chastised because of her sluggishness, she was chastised because of her laziness, and that is the compensation of all the laziness she manifested towards her mother. Tungod sa iyang katakulan, napatahan siya tungod sa iyang pagtapulan, gihimo siyang pinya. Mao to makita siya sa iyang appearance, sa pinya nga daghan kaayo sa umata. And that is because ang lesson here is that ibuhang duha ka mata, gamit na ka siya. Even ang one, gamit na, how much more if two pa yung mata, gamit na siya, makakita siya buta. Especially, kung man mo magkita dahil ng butang, you should never give up. Kailangan mo nga mag-spend pa a couple of minutes or seconds pa para makita na malay mo manarili sa palibot o sa dapin-dapin, makita rin mo siya. So this story reminds us na kung sugo sa itong parents, we should never murmur. So maningid, nagkambag suguan ni because I can relate to this story. Kay there are times nga magyaw-yaw ko nga. Or just like Pinang, asa man akong gamit dili, asa akong short, asa akong pantalon, asa akong uniform, asa akong notebook, asa akong ballpen, asa akong mga stamp, etc. din sa balay. Relate na po akong sa Katina kay tahan kay ko yaw-yaw din. Pag ako mama nang pangita is naadi ay nakita din niya nga. Like for example, another example nga ako mama siya kuha ang shampoo palino ako. Wala naman shampoo dili ako super white kuha, wala ko yung super white din. Kasi nga una ra man lagi din na just shoplift. Tumod kay gi-execute na ko ang laziness. Kanang naon ta ko mata pero gipail na ko nga nangitawan ko isuod ko pero pag wala ko siya nakita ni surrender dahil ko. I can see myself kahit sa Pinang, sa story, the story of Pinia nga. Patulan ka siya more on yaw-yaw lang siya, niya ginalihot yung actions. Dito mo na, actions speak louder than words. Ang words ang ipairang Pinang dili and same as me nga. Kanang more on tuyaw ko before na ako kita na butang it di na ko siya kita musaradan ko. And I hope my dear classmates is ma-apply ko sa pagkinabuhi na susubuan ta di ka magtinapulan o kung naisip sa tuwa ganito na itong mga mata. God gave us these eyes so that we can see how beautiful the world is. God gave us eyes for us to use it for good. Mo dapat ta magtinapulan o gamitin na itong mata to see the various similitude. Next slide, guys. Sorry for the verbose, grabe. A Mother Mountain. I'm actually not familiar with it one, so I will just read it. The Mother Mountain talks about a widow who lived with her two daughters that want nothing but to play. The mother asked her daughters to prepare their dinner as soon as she finishes work. The third came home. The daughters were not there, so she cooked the dinner herself. As soon as the daughters came home, they saw their mother preparing dinner and yet decided to play again. The mother got frustrated and found the house and left the house. Amy. It was late night, and the daughters followed her. Little did they know that mother turned into a shape of mountain called Mount Yaya. So, ano ni siya sa, it is all about the mother mountain. Synopsis na ni siya about the mother mountain. That's all. Next slide na lang tayo. Okay, the necklace and the comb, the same. I'm not familiar with this one, but I will just read it for you to understand, and I hope you will get things or lessons from the words being presented. Okay, the necklace and the comb. The necklace and the comb tells the story of Inday, one born for comb. She was given this as family heirloom during her 16th birthday. She would keep with her the necklace and comb even while cooking, so to avoid spoiling them. She put those on the cloud. Her necklace and comb went up later on with the sky. Night came, the comb became the quarter moon, and the necklace turned into the stars. So that equals all the story. Next slide na lang tayo. The Carabao and the Shell. Okay, other one. The Carabao and the Shell from Mabel Coast Philippine Tales talks about the race that happened between the Carabao and the Shell. The Carabao thought of the Shell to be very slow. When the race began, the Carabao went for a long distance. He shouted, Shell, and then another Shell answered. He went on, and every time he shouts to find Shell, another Shell would answer. Carabao was determined to win the race, so he kept on running until he got exhausted and died. He got all. Say, kayo ano ka say, naka-open mind. Di lang siya mag-ako. Okay, not say. Next slide lang say. Okay. So another Philippine folk tale from Mabel Cook. So same gapon siya dati ang author. Katawag sa Carabao si Mabel Cook. Mag-ending gapon si Mabel Cook is the man with the coconut. So the man with the coconut na alam yung folk tale made by Mabel Cook. So it relates a story about a man who gathered his coconuts and loaded it to his horse. He asked a boy how long it would take for him to go home. If you go slowly, you will arrive very soon. But if you go fast, it will take you all day. So the sound changed. So he heard his horse, and every time he does this, the coconuts would fall. He was able to reach home when it was already night time. Okay, so I'm actually not familiar with the story, but I found it so interesting. Muna, I will just give my insight about what I have read from the words being shown or being presented on screen. So, di ba, it is really, ano man siya, kind of strange or weird, guys, ano, di ba? Ni Anao, he asked a boy how long it would take for him to go home. Na if you go slowly, you will arrive very soon. So, kung mo lakaw da ka, hinay na siya or dapat hinay lang, mas pas ka mo abot hinuon. Pero, kung magpas-pas ka, it will take you all day. Mas dudugay hinuon ko ang magpas-pas ka, said by the boy, and the man found it strange. Of course, even I myself, aminado ko siya, ngano, unsay pahiwating ato, unsay meaning atong giningon sa boy. Nganong, if kung maghinay ka, pas-pas ka mo, kung magdali ka, mas maluwi ka, di ka na siya twist, kanang gituyok yung story nga na, it's like na I meaning, na I deeper meaning about that phrase, nganong hindi mo na sa boy. So, giving a story, actual lesson na learn, I just want to give my insights about this ha. Um, I don't think that I want to kana kuan lang give my insights na kanina. Go in life, sa ato kinabuhi, we should never hurry. Not, for example, in college, di ba, if I were to relate this in a story nga kana, the man with the coconuts, nga kana, college naman ta, di ba, kauman, kauban, yung dam. So, in college, di ba, when we were elementary and high school back then, so nating mga friends na classmates na to, ano sila nga, they became our family, they became our companions, wherever we are and whatever life may take. So, paabot sa college is kanang kuan gani, wala kanang nakabungkag. Although same of course gibuha, pero nabungkag siya. It is because kanang wala na tay laing choice na iuban sa tuwa nga makapadayon because they are affluent na ato. Na iuban sa tuwa makapadayon because their parents can afford their studies. Their parents can send them to school, especially in college, kasi nakagasto naman siya college. It requires effort. Ang wait lang. I-straight up dira ako sa unahan. Okay? So, i-continue na ako na siya kung istorya ha. So, di ba sa ato if kung dili na ta parehatanan kuan, makapalahuri sa college because kanang tungkol sa itong kahintang because of our situation, it doesn't mean nga mabiyaan na ta. Because, like, what other people say, nga, college is not a race. So, dapat, di ka maglubaanay. Di na ito i-underestimate o man tungkol kaya nag-stop sila. Even if they are our friends, but karang they cannot finish their studies tungkol lang sila kahintang, it's never the end. God has a perfect timing in every situation. And if you keep on pursuing your dreams, even if it's really something that you want to do, keep doing it because nobody else can stop you but you. That's according to John H. Sana. So, di ba, ma-relate na to ang story na ako sa college kaya kung ano mag-stop tungkol silang kahintang, may nata nga, there's no hope for them. There is always hope no matter what you're going through. Kanang, bisan pag nabiyan ka sa imong mga friends, bisan pag nabiyan ka sa imong mga kabatchmates, you should never give up. You should keep going. You should study in a right time if mo abot na siya ang panahon para sa imo ha. So if nag-stop man kami, you want to work for yourself, you want to provide the necessities for your families, it's okay. Pwede pa ako balik sa eskwela sunod. So, and in the end, you will become triumphant in the future if you succeed. You will become triumphant if you reach or if you reap the fruit of your success. So, ma-relation din sa story na if you go slowly, you will arrive very soon. But if you go fast, it will take you all day. So, dili ka nang dapat magdali because there is perfect timing in everything. Next slide. Filipino legend. Okay, Mount the legend of the Philippines volcano. Mount Mayon or Magayon is a stratovolcano that the province of Albay in the Bicol region. It is known for its almost perfect cone due to its symmetrical conical shape. As mentioned before, it is named after a legendary princess named Daragang Magayon, which is what we are going to learn today. That is the text. Now allow me. Next slide, good time. Next slide, please. Okay, allow me to read the summary of the story uplifted in ABS-CBN. So, I will just read the summary and I will not explain it anymore because the summary is already presented on the screen. And you'll definitely learn if you'll listen to me when I am reading the summary. And I hope you all will understand. Okay? In a place called Kibalon, there is a maiden called Magayon, who is the daughter of the chief of the tribe in Kapusong. Her beauty attracted several men in the one of the said men was Pantuga, who is a warrior and chief of Iraga. He tried to woo Magayon several times, but to no avail. One day, Magayon passed in her favorite spot called the Yawa River. She suddenly slipped on the rocks and cried for help. This caught the attention of Pangarunon, who happened to be nearby, and saved her from drowning. They began creating a very close relationship and even asked Makuso for her hand in marriage. The news spread of Magayon's marriage to Tuga, who kidnapped Magayon and threatened her to marry him, or his father will die. Alan went to the place and tried to take her lover back. Hence, a battle ensued. Pangarunan eventually won, but as he was able to embrace Magayon, she was struck with a poisoned arrow. Pangarunan knelt over his dying lover and eventually got stabbed by one Pantugas men. Makusog buried his daughter and her lover together after the battle. Years passed and the land where they buried grows higher and higher, which was eventually called Magayon. So that's end of the story, and I hope you listen. Next slide. Okay. So this is the legend of the Bakunawa. So the Bakunawa is a serpent-like dragon in Philippine mythology. It is believed to be the cause of eclipses, earthquakes, rain, and wind. It was generally believed to be a sea serpent, but are also variously believed to inhabit either the sky or the underworld. Its name means bent snake in English from the word baku meaning bent or curved and nawa meaning large snake or python. It is mostly believed in the Tiwani mythology. It is believed that there used to be seven moons in the night sky created by a supreme god known as Bathala. But the Bakunawa, who was amazed the seven moons' light would rise up from the beach ocean and swallow one of the moon's whole once every 100 years, thus leading to eclipses and earthquakes. This angered Bakunawa a long time enemies. That's the legend of Lord Volcano. So, on continuation to that, as the years passed, he is at the land where Magayon and so andyan ako ni I have a copy here about naman sa over the episode. Bakunawa where wow. So let's talk about the general information in the Bakunawa. So ang cultural origin niya is mythology, of course, and the type dragon traits can ship out of the ocean and long one as it. So we are already especially Filipino subjects before nga dragon is nakaano siya sa ocean and he can hit one of the moons. Ang weaknesses niya is afraid of loud sounds, shouting, and yelling. Weaknesses sa dragon or sa Bakunawa. 8 to 6 centuries later, when there was only one moon left, the Bakunawa was tempted to eat the last one, and if it does, eclipses would darken the night, making it even harder to see, and earthquakes would shake the world. The ancient Filipinos knew they had to do something, or else the world would be gone. Finally, they thought of an idea. The Bakunawa scared of loud noises, so all of the ancient Filipinos gathered some pots, and hands, and they all run towards the ocean. So if we are to talk about that, here is that the Bakunawa is said to be a water-dwelling serpent-like dragon that lives in a pitch black ocean. Not only does the Bakunawa wants to eat the moons because of the moon's beauty, but also to illuminate the ocean that their life lives every 100 years. Bakunawa is sometimes described to even have front limbs or wings or both, but it's always depicted as a sea serpent-like dragon with a mouth the size of a large plate, a bright red tongue, whiskers, gills, and small wires at its sides. Its coat as its legend is told, but it's mostly white, dark blue, or red. So the trivia in this legend, or the legend of Bakunawa, is that it is one of the five broad creatures of Philippine mythology to be in the gay evening. So diba, it is very comprehensive and understandable from the discussion nga. Especially sa una, na-discuss naman nga, there's supposedly nga seven ang moons and ginahinay o kahon Bakunawa ang moons mo, nag-isa na lang karon. And we all Filipinos have this mythology nga. Ang nga may mga eclipse ng hit tungod because tungod kay isa na ang moons knowing nga dapat seven on the and ang orong nastakaon na sa Bakunawa. So that is mythology naman sa mga Filipinos nga hanggang karon value gihapon nato, gina-give nato og importance. Ako ba pala Bakunawa? Sabi ka, isa lang ang nabilin is ang mga tao, they are all worried. What if kauna na po sa Bakunawa ang remaining mo nga nabilin ang isa? So, hit na mo sa muta, hit ang kuan tungod kay kauna na nito. Moto, the Filipinos, the people find a way. Their critical thinking, they use their mind, kung saan nila nga pagkuan hadlok ang Bakunawa para di na isa kamon. So mo to nakita nilang way nga katong di ba I have mentioned earlier nga the weaknesses sa Bakunawa na afraid the Bakunawa is afraid of loud sounds, shouting and yelling. So gibuhat na nila. They use that one and they succeeded. Because they succeeded, ang Bakunawa is wala siya makita after that circumstance. What is the reason nga nung ang moon is stability is naagyan po siya kung karoon niya ang Bakunawa afraid na sa loud noises. If people will unite, magdilabangay ang tao as one people, as one united world, and using their voices, mahadlok nila ang Bakunawa. And that's about the story of Bakunawa. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you learned lessons from my discussion, especially from the vague part, because not the vague part of the discussion, especially most of my explanations are done in impromptu way. Thank you, Tayo.